Hey guys, we are recording this on Wednesday, the 22nd of April. We just saw kind of the early premiere of Michael the movie here in Orlando. And in all candor, I saw it a week ago in Bucharest. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We are going to be settling in. I'm going to introduce you to my buddy Jared here in just a few seconds. But we'd welcome you to hang out with us in the studio and have a chat and some first reactions on Michael the movie. Jared Bradshaw.
Hey, pal.
Man, so good to see you. Always. Jared and I go back to, is it 2013?
That sounds right, yeah.
I think that is right. When you came to one of my events in New York.
Man, I came to In the Studio with MJ in Manhattan, and it was on a Saturday, I believe, and I could only come to the morning session.
Okay, because you were working.
And I was working, and I think it was so good, I called out of the matinee, which I never do. And then you were going on at night. It went on to the evening, and I was in Jersey Boys on Broadway. And I was like, oh my gosh. And Brad said, why do you like MJ? And I said, well, I'm a performer on Broadway, and I'm a dancer, and he's just the greatest. And he said, well, can I come see you in Jersey Boys? And I was like, please. So you and your daughter Amanda came and sat in the front row and saw me in Jersey Boys. And at the bows, I did this little MJ thing. And you're like, I can't believe you did that. But I couldn't believe that I had met this guy, and he was just a cool dad like me and had worked with Michael. I'm just a super fan.
And just out of the frame is my signed Jersey Boys poster.
Yeah.
You had like everybody and their brother signed, which was amazing.
Yeah, so if you haven't been in the studio with MJ, his seminars are amazing. And we just became fast friends. And after the pandemic, we moved to Orlando. And so we live about 10 minutes away.
Jared, I think, was at and we'll get to the movie. Just stay with us for a second. But Jared's such a good friend that we've got so many years and miles and many more.
We should put a picture right here, Matt.
Yeah, many more to go. But I think you were at my second event ever.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy. So, because I did one in Paris, and that was my very first event.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
And then we came here, and I thought if I can make it in New York, we'll just...
If you can make it there. And your seminars are always different. There's always something new and different. And each time I come, it's never like the first one I went to. And but I'll never forget you mixing Blood on the Dance Floor and Bad. And I was like, I don't want to go to my job
I don't
tonight.
want to go to Jersey Boys.
And it was hours. I was in there for 6 hours, and I didn't want it to end. It was fascinating.
Amazing. These guys probably can't hear it, but I kept thinking, what's that thumping? That's the Disney fireworks.
Can you hear the Magic Kingdom going...
I was like, what is that thumping? I've only lived here for many years, and the fireworks still get me. So we're doing this during the 10 o'clock fireworks, but that's fine. If you hear some thumping, nobody is hurt.
But it's Wednesday, so the movie comes out Friday nationwide.
Yep.
They just had an LA premiere. It premiered in Berlin first.
Berlin was the first night, and that was a week ago. Or was it 2 weeks?
It's about a week and a half.
About a week and a half. Yeah, I think it was, a week last weekend, whatever that computes to. Then I was just in Bucharest this past weekend, 3-4 days ago, and I saw it with a group of just amazing producers, musicians, just a really cool group of people. So this is your first time seeing it. It's my second time seeing it.
We just came from the theater.
Literally just
at Disney Springs.
In fact, I wouldn't even let him talk to me. I'm like, I don't want to debrief. I want to wait till we get the microphones set up. So we've, outside of just a couple little seconds.
So you've seen it twice. I've seen it once.
And there's no notes. We have nothing. I prefer just to go and see where it goes.
Let's do it, man.
I want to hear just kind of gut reaction. We'll go into more detail, but your overall sense.
I bet that Bucharest was wild. I would think because
no, I mean the theater was maybe a bit more electric. It was an IMAX.
I was surprised in Orlando that it wasn't a loud crowd with cheering and clapping and
in both theaters. If I were running the production, I would have had the sound about 30% louder.
It started, and I was like, it should be louder.
Yeah,
my friend Josh said, should I go talk to him? I said, no, maybe it's supposed to not be.
And, there's all the rules and everything. You don't want to hurt people.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I wish it were just a teeny bit louder. But outside of that, initial thoughts.
My initial thoughts, I invited 27 of my closest friends.
You did?
Two of your daughters were there, and your wife, Debbie, who obviously had met Michael. There's a great Debbie picture with Michael.
Yep.
I love that picture. But I brought my friends, and they are casual Michael Jackson fans. I have 1,500 Michael Jackson records, so I'm one of the crazies. But what I
don't let that fly by you. He has an enormous. Maybe Maddie can put a picture of your crazy collection or something in. Just, I mean, I have a few dozen. I mean, a couple of them are signed.
Well, he worked on the records. I bought all the records.
Thank you, by the way.
No, but yeah, you're welcome. But I think what was fascinating is my casual friends that were with me were blown away. You know, they're people that listen to Thriller and they're like, oh, I have Thriller. I love Michael Jackson, you know, back in 1985.
Right.
You know, but I think they were all blown away at how personal this movie was. And, of course, how it rocked. How amazing Jafar Jackson is.
Yep.
And my friend was like, is that guy's name really? His last name's really Jackson? I said, yes, it's Jermaine's son.
It's his
and
nephew.
he said, wait a minute, I have to watch it again. Are you kidding me? He's related. It was like, so he couldn't believe that. So I think as word of mouth goes out on this, in the music community, the fan community, it's amazing. And my 12-year-old daughter was with me, and of course there was some, you know, Joe Jackson with that belt was a little violent for my 12-year-old daughter, but she realized, like, whoa, he worked them really hard, and they were all really talented, but all of that hard work and dedication for years paid off and made him the greatest entertainer ever.
So I want to talk about Joe and discipline in just a second, but one of the things that, number one, you and I are both in the production world. You know, we both been around a lot of productions. I love. I'm not the biggest movie guy. I mean, I love movies, but I'm more of a music guy.
Right.
But the look of this film, I thought it was spectacularly. Is that a word? Spectacularly shot.
Absolutely. I think the recreation, not only of the scenes in the 1970s with the Jackson 5, but the recreation of Motown 25, just the physical sets, the lighting, obviously
and the cinematography.
The cinematography of the Thriller scene. I mean, you got to watch that.
Yeah, I was there for the Thriller scene.
In L.A., they invited Brad, and he got
for the Jafar version, not the MJ version. I was.
Yeah, but it looked just like.
Did you notice, like, John Landis had a can of Tab? I mean, there was
a great little Tab.
There were
promo.
So many little Easter eggs or
there was a great
nods.
Space Mountain poster in Michael's room. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
It's one click and it's right by the door. But in Michael's room at Havenhurst in Encino, there's a Space Mountain poster.
And did you see the cap? The cap was the.
What is that hat from?
That's the hotel Mike used to stay at Disney World.
Oh, amazing!
And I should have Maddie and I have now. It's called the Bee. It's the Bee Hotel.
Oh, right.
In Disney Village.
That was it.
Yeah,
right
it used to be called
Disney Springs.
Royal. I'm kind of embarrassed because I just saw
that was the hat.
Yeah.
Where he had the suite on the top.
Yeah.
Wow.
He and Bob
of
Hope.
course, you know, Brad and Michael, if you don't know Brad and Michael really hit it off and were friends because they both love Disney so much. Brad proposed at Disneyland to his wife.
Yeah.
And I love it. Can you hold up the history album there? Brad, I love this story that Brad got to say the Disneyland line. Michael asked him if he would say
Walt Disney's birthday.
Oh, Walt Disney's birthday.
Yeah.
That's it. On the History album, in the song History.
Yeah.
I just love that. You were such Disney fans. So I love seeing those two Disney Easter eggs there.
There were so many. I did. People are like, Brad, are you in the movie? No, the answer is no. The movie really covers from the early years of Michael up until basically they kind of jump into the Bad tour.
It really jumps straight to the Bad tour, which is...
Well, but I hope they go back in the next movie and do the Bad album.
Yeah, that's a great thing about a movie. You can jump around and go anywhere.
So I kind of joined Team MJ kind of during Captain EO, and that doesn't get any love in this movie.
More Disney.
Maybe it will in the next one. Who knows? So one thing I noticed, and I want to see if you agree or disagree. I thought Jafar did an excellent job, and I do mean that.
Unbelievable.
And I'm being honest. I like the fact that he doesn't look exactly like Michael.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's him. He's Jafar, and he's doing a beautiful rendition of Michael instead of having somebody that almost looks scarily like Michael. Does that make sense?
I think I think when the Broadway show MJ opened, we realized if you're doing Michael, you don't have to sound exactly like him, have the same eye color and nose
I thought
shape
the sound
and chin
was
cleft.
spectacular.
The way he spoke alone.
Yeah, no, I thought he
and
sounded
sung.
remarkably like Michael.
But yeah, Michael looked different in 79 as he did in 82 and 87 and 91. You know, it's always, you know, you can't have one actor do all that. But there was great makeup, and I was sort of blown away. I'm like, am I watching the same actor that was playing Michael 30 minutes ago in this movie?
Right.
It was fascinating.
But the fact that, now you mentioned the musical. I've seen the musical, I'm almost embarrassed, I think 7 times.
You saw it in Hamburg, Germany, right?
Well, I saw it my first time with you.
You brought me the hat. Yeah, we
Yep.
saw it on Broadway.
And how many times have you seen it?
The tour. I think I've only seen it 3 times.
Okay, 2, 3.
Only
Okay,
3
3.
times.
Yeah. I'm not. Well, you can't help but compare the two a little bit. I almost, when I watch the MJ the musical, the stage show, there's a bit more of a distance, and I kind of let myself believe that that's Michael, maybe a teeny bit more than I do in the movie.
Yeah.
But I love Jafar's approach.
Yeah.
He owns Michael's.
Yeah, when you hear the family talking about it, I think Jackie Jackson, Michael's oldest brother, the way he said, man, I forgot. After a while, I knew it was Jafar, and then I just forgot that it was Jafar, and it was my brother.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the ultimate compliment coming from Jackie Jackson.
It is.
I mean, wow. Unbelievable. And this guy has never done another movie. He's not a
No.
singer, a career singer or actor. And for, I guess, 2.5 years, he's been working on this. Unbelievable.
And I'm told. I mean, I read just like everybody else. If it's on the internet, sure, I'll glance at it. But I believe I read that. I mean, he really absorbed Michael's persona in terms
Absolutely.
of. I think he was wearing some of Michael's clothes. He was
Yeah.
sleeping either in Michael's bed or in his room or something. And he really took on the whole character of
The whole
Michael.
persona, and not only in the dancing, but there were little moves he did just sitting, and you were just like, oh, I've seen Michael
Yeah.
do that. It
Yeah.
was really so well done. And Motown 25, there's so many moments where you're like, wow, he nailed that move. Now, I'm sure there's some impersonators out there that are like, you know, somebody's complaining
okay,
about
but-
the music mix of Motown 25 and how they added a measure. I was like, it's a movie.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You're a dancer. I have to have like 7 bottles of this to even approach a dance floor, and even then it's a disaster. But I do love watching Michael dance.
Sure.
I purely kind of on a tangent, I had a long talk with Brad Buxer today. Brad was Michael's real musical director. And the one thing Brad asked was, how's the dancing? Because Brad watched Michael dance in person
In the wings,
more than
yeah.
300 times
Sure.
right behind him. You do some beautiful MJ dances. What were your but seriously, what rating would you give Jafar in terms of dance? And don't just be nice. I mean, be honest.
No, I mean, it's unbelievable. I wouldn't dare say anything less than a 10.
Okay.
It was absolutely amazing. And after watching the Broadway show so many times, that choreography is different. Michael's choreography
Yeah.
from the movies, they recreated this choreography, you know, to a T. And yes, if you're a crazy fan like me, you are like, oh, okay, his legs could be a little wider or whatever. But that's nitpicking. This is unbelievable. And it's so daring that they dared to try and recreate Thriller and Motown 25 and Beat It on film. And I think the best moment was him rehearsing Beat It. That's when you felt the audience tonight in the movie theater go, oh my gosh, when they're doing this
Right.
move, when
Yeah.
they're that Liza Minnelli said she taught Michael Jackson that move.
Oh, wow.
Isn't
Okay.
that funny if you've ever seen that interview? But she said she taught him that move at Studio 54. But anyway,
taught him a lot of
there's a
things.
moment, spoiler alert, where they are rehearsing Beat It in front of the gangs.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing. And that feels like the Broadway show, in that they're showing you a behind the scenes
Right.
moment. And I love when they're doing the Thriller scene and Michael goes, stop, can we do it again? And
Yeah, giving John Landis directorial.
yeah.
With the dancing, I'm not a dancer, and I don't have a dancer's eye. But I do see a lot of MJ impersonators, some good, some not. Hats off to anybody that wants to give it a shot.
Sure.
I do think Jafar. I would do I'd give him like a 95.
95 out of 100.
Because Michael, there were just there were just certain things that Michael did.
Oh,
that
sure.
Were
yeah.
just
If you ask me, was it exactly like Michael Jackson? No, of course it wasn't. Nobody's.
And I'm not a dancer choreographer, but it was beautiful. It was beautiful to watch.
And the moonwalk was so good, and his toe stand in Motown 25 was
true.
perfect.
Yeah.
And Michael always said, "Oh, I didn't stay up there long enough." But it was great in a movie. You can do that. It's not live on television once, and you can get it perfect. At the end, I felt like they did way too many moonwalks. Right?
You're jumping right to the end.
Sorry.
I actually agree.
So
I actually agree.
No. There were a lot of moonwalks
at the end. Yeah.
I think if you're a casual MJ fan and you want to see a moonwalk, don't worry, you're going to see a lot of moonwalks, and it's well done.
And Michael's whole thing about the pregnant pause and make him wait. I wish they would have included a teeny bit more of that, but that might be in the second movie.
Right.
In this one, to Jared's point, if you enjoy watching Michael moonwalk, you'll see it a lot because they
it's great. It's just maybe overused.
All right, so let's go back early in the film. Young Michael, the early days. Well, in fact, let's go. And again, yes, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. Yes, you're probably going to see the movie. We're just going to talk about it.
Yeah.
You touched on the discipline. Let's talk about Joe in those early days.
Well, I think when I was doing Jersey Boys in Chicago, I went down to Gary, Indiana, and it was a snowy day. And Maddie, can you put this picture up? And the fence had been put around Michael's house. It was after he had passed, and I went down in Gary, Indiana, and it was so poor, so many rotten homes that were empty, nobody living there, and I wept, and I said, I totally get it. I totally understand Joe Jackson's discipline. He worked those kids so hard, but he got them out of that awful town, and it was awful because all of the industry had left, right? It's not, the people there are wonderful, but the town was dying from the 60s on, and you could work in the steel mill or be homeless. Steel mill. And so that's why I appreciate Joe Jackson, because he's the one that got them all out. But man, this actor, Coleman Domingo, comes from the Broadway world, an amazing Broadway actor and singer and dancer. And man, he nailed that role, didn't he? It's a much bigger role, I think, than I even expected. And Catherine was amazing too. But man, it's a violent spanking whooping scene with a leather belt, and my daughter was sitting there with my wife, and I was like, oh gosh, this is a lot for her to watch. But I wanted my daughter to see how Michael Jackson grew up and how he became so popular and so famous after working so hard, so successful. But yeah, it's a violent, I cried, I just wept watching Michael get hit with that belt, man. The early part of the film has, if you're a Jackson 5 fan, I really am. I'm 46 years old, but I think the older MJ fans, my friend Glenna out in California, she's maybe 15 years older than me, but she loved, maybe older, she loved the Jackson 5. That part of the movie is so great. There's some really obscure songs, if you're not a major fan like me, like Stand and Think About the Good Times from the Jacksons albums later. There's some really songs in there that you're like, I can't believe they chose to underscore with this. Not even a single. There were songs that weren't even singles.
Yeah, because there was just a constant score of MJ music.
The only song, I'm sorry, I'm jumping everywhere. The song that I really wanted to hear and see Jafar sing was I Can't Help It from, Stevie's song from the Off the Wall album. You hear it, dun, 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 and I was like, oh, he's going to do it. Here it comes. And I was going to watch Quincy. And I guess they had that moment in MJ, the Broadway musical. But man, I think that was cut. I think that the show is, the movie was 2 hours and 7 minutes. I looked up online.
Oh, good for you.
It's rated PG-13 in case you have a 12-year-old that you're worried about bringing.
Yeah, it gets a little, there's nothing racy, raunchy, none of that. I think, a little bit of the language gets a bit salty here and there. And,
lots of
a little bit of the spanking, we'll say.
I think the funniest scene, was the Walter Yetnikoff scene at CBS Epic.
And that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
And when Michael tells John Branca to call him MTV and get me on there, and there's a lot of language in that, and it's actually comical.
I have an MTV shirt. Did you give me that? Okay, Deb gave it to me, and I've worn my MTV shirt to a couple of my events, and it's one of those things where some of the MJ fans and I love the MJ fans, but if you make one tiny misstep, they're all over you, and so there's a little bit of
don't ever say Oprah or you're in trouble.
But I wore an MTV shirt to a couple of my events, and people are like, psst, 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 you shouldn't be wearing an MTV shirt, but I think it was such a pivotal moment. Now that's when Deb and I were dating.
Yeah.
So we would. Sometimes we would just, sit in her bedroom and watch MTV.
Yeah.
That's what you did in 1982, 1983. Yeah. You'd watch just hours of MTV.
And MTV needed Michael.
It was so white. I mean, they played, obviously,
Video
the
Killed the Radio
Police,
Star.
and
Whip It
Dire
Good.
Straits and all, Devo and all that. And it was fun.
Take on me.
But it was Michael that just kicked. Well, it was Walter Yetnikov that kicked the doors down and opened that up to black artists.
They're like, we don't play black artists. He's like, well, you
do
will
now.
now, or we're gonna pull Billy Joel and Bruce Springsteen
and Cindy and
all the CBS artists.
Yes, it was a really, really cool scene.
But it's so true that MTV needed Michael Jackson, and Michael needed MTV. And he knew it.
Michael made MTV.
Yeah, of course.
Michael took
like,
MTV from here to here.
Yeah, and that's what made VH1 eventually, because they're like, whoa, we need to make another channel to handle all of the short films and music videos that every artist thinks they have to make now because of Thriller and Beat It and Billie Jean.
So to your point, the Joe Jackson character was very dark, rough.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I've told this story many times, so I'll go ahead and tell it again, is during the Dangerous album, you have to understand, I worked on EO, Bad, Dangerous, and History, and a bunch of...
Blood on the Dance Floor, Neverland.
A little bit on,
And Radio City.
Yeah, but... Okay, enough. So I was with Studio Michael a lot, especially in that era, and it was an amazing time to watch him grow up. And I'm glad that the movie really captured that up to the Bad album. But the family was not there. By the way, I want to touch on Janet is not in the movie.
No Janet, no Rebe.
Yeah.
No, well, Randy. I was like, where's Randy for half the movie?
Well, I mean, Janet, I think, just said, keep
I'd
me
rather
out.
not.
Yeah, she stayed out of it 100%.
It was just LaToya. There's no Rebe either.
Lots of LaToya with her little headband. But the family, and I've met most of the family, over the years. So I'm not trying to be disparaging at all. But Michael World was Michael World. And we kept those walls up really high. The family did not just drop in for a visit. Until one day, and I mean ever, I don't think I'm looking at our coasters here, during the Bad album, I don't think nobody from the family came to the studio at all.
Wow.
That was Quincy, Rod, Bruce, Michael. But during the Dangerous album, we don't have the Dangerous coaster. It's over there.
Right
It's okay.
I almost can reach it.
But during here, we have that. During the Dangerous album, Joe Jackson did come to the studio. Have I told you this story?
No.
Okay. So...
I'm surprised.
I've told it several times at a lot of events. So it was me and Bruce and Michael in the control room. Bruce Swedin. By the way, Bruce, they do a really...
Bruce had a little mustache.
I thought Bruce,
it was Bruce.
The Bruce guy was actually... Yeah. He doesn't really talk. He doesn't have a speaking part. The Bruce in the movie smiled a little bit more than the real Bruce, but it was cool. It was so sweet, in his plaid shirt and everything. I want to talk about, remind me, we got to talk about Easter eggs, just the details that they hit.
Sure.
But during the Dangerous project, it was me, Bruce, and Michael, and we had these office phones. Remember, like the AT&T Merlin phones? Yeah. So the phone rang, and it was the front desk. Patty called and said, hey, and she, just happy as could be, she said, hey, Joe Jackson is at the front gate. He wants to come in and see Michael. Literally, just like that. And... So the way Record One worked was you could be on Ventura Boulevard, and there was a front gate out there, real metal gate. Well, we drove by it.
Yeah,
I drove by it. At the front gate, there'd be a phone, then there'd be a buzzer on the inside. Right. You could buzz people in. So it was kind of
not buzz people.
Yeah. So it was kind of like two layers of protection. You have to get through the gate, and you have to get past the receptionist or into the front door. So she said, "Hey, Joe Jackson is here to see his son Michael," and literally, Michael's sitting right next to me, like you are. And I, just as casual as could be, I said, hey, Michael, your dad's here. He wants to come in and say hi. Can I go let him in? True story. And it was as if you took a hypodermic needle and just sucked the life out of Michael.
Wow.
He sunk down in his chair.
Oh, man.
True story. This is not in the movie. But he and I never like to put, I'm not making fun of Michael at all, but he either started to cry or welled up, and he just said, please don't let him in. Please don't let him in here. Do not let him in here. And he ran back to his lounge. If we were in the studio, his lounge is over there. And so Bruce kind of looks at me and says, well, you got to go deal with it, Bratty Daddy.
Goodness.
And so I had to go out to the street, and here's Joe Jackson facing me on the other side of an iron gate, and it's like right there. It's like a movie scene. And he said, I'm here to see my son. I mean, it was like the movie.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sorry, sir. He's not available right now. He's working. And then, just to make it great, Joe starts shaking on the gate.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
I'm hoping, man, I hope the magnet holds.
Like that would change your mind.
And he said, he really cursed me a blue streak. And he said,
wow.
Let me in this gate. I want to talk to my son. And it was, I would dare say, it was as vicious or more vicious than anything I saw in the movie tonight.
Scary, man.
It was very scary.
Yeah.
And I had to turn my back, and I said, I'm sorry, sir. I can't let you in. And as I walk away, he's still shaking the gate.
Yikes.
That's what Michael grew up with.
Yeah, man.
You and I never experienced
never.
1/100th of that.
We had great dads. So your dad's still great.
So, yeah, they almost could have gone heavier, I think, with Joe. And it's probably good they stopped where they did.
Yeah.
It's a fine, you don't want to, because I don't know where the line is, but I know that it was rough.
Yeah, and you can't include everything. And this movie was just over 2 hours long. And if you remember the Jackson's The American Dream, that 6-hour TV miniseries in the 90s, like that was 6 hours. And my friends that were there tonight at Disney Springs were like, man, I could have watched another hour of that. And I'm like, well, there is more.
Yeah.
There is more. They had to stop it bad because you can't have a 4-hour movie.
And now, I was going to mention this. I've seen it twice. And I don't know if I told you this downstairs or not. I enjoyed this time bet more.
Good.
I enjoyed the second viewing more. When I saw it in Bucharest, great group of people. It was a fantastic group I was with, and it was so exciting.
Well,
and,
you were jet lagged too.
I was a little jet lagged, but I almost felt like pressure. And if anybody's watching this, it was my self-imposed pressure, nothing from you guys. You guys are amazing. But almost like I don't know how to react. I mean, I've never seen this before, and it's exciting. And now I could just kind of sit back and enjoy it.
Sure.
And it was a different experience.
And you didn't have anybody. You were sitting by your wife and my wife and Georgia. You didn't have anybody going, what do you think, Brad?
And in Bucharest, I was with my daughter Maddie, and so it was great seeing with somebody that knows me, but yeah, it was more relaxed this time, and I could watch it as a movie instead of did they get this right, did they get that wrong, and it was more of just a linear thing.
As somebody who saw it for the first time, obviously tonight, and I can't wait to see it again. There was a lot I would love to watch again. The beginning, starting with the Jackson 5 early in their career. I mean, the credits open and you're hearing this live version of Wanna Be Starting Something, and you're like, is this where we're starting? A thriller? Right. What's going on? And then it flashes back, but it's out of order. They aren't the right songs. It was so amazing to hear, spoiler alert, Big Boy, which was really their first single, well before Motown.
In the living room.
Yeah,
with them practicing with Joe, like
doing the harmonies and But to hear Big Boy, and then like they're doing small clubs. They haven't gone to Motown yet, and they're already singing "Never Can Say Goodbye," which of course they didn't do for years. But it was fascinating to see how they used that to show how the group was becoming successful.
Okay, now you just sparked another memory for me. In those early years in the movie, it's almost it's kind of fun, and it's cool people, and and kind of those early. And Michael told me that's not exactly how it was. He was doing strip clubs.
Oh yeah,
he was 7 years old.
Then throwing the coins and going on opposite strippers.
I think back in the day. I mean, he was just being bare-chested women or
wherever
just throwing
they could
themselves
perform,
into a little 7-8-year-old boy's face. And no, I remember him talking about that, how it was those early years, and when he would tell these stories, he would always almost put a button on the end of it of But if it weren't for that, and if it weren't for Joseph, I wouldn't be here.
And the only reason I'm any good as a performer, I perform at Disney World now, but every time I see anyone perform, especially Michael Jackson, you always get better. And Michael watched people perform from age, 6. Obviously, he was obsessed with James Brown on TV and seeing Gladys Knight, who features in this movie. No Diana Ross in this movie, right?
No,
just
not
Gladys
yet.
Knight.
Maybe,
So,
well, let's say that was Studio 54 era, but still.
Watching James Brown and Gladys Knight and all these performers, even I'm sure strippers, like he found what made an audience go woohoo, and if you do a big pose or you move your feet really fast. And so as a child, he learned, oh, if I do this, I get more coins thrown at the stage or more applause or whatever. So it's fascinating to see that part and to hear all the Jackson 5 music. And Brad, I don't know if you knew, or can tell, but so much of that early stuff in the movie, I couldn't tell if it was the original recordings of Michael or if it was this young Michael Jackson singing. That Who's Loving You?
That was ridiculous. When I went down to just vocal.
They took it down to just the a cappella vocal.
Yeah, bare vocal.
It was thrilling. And watching the actor playing Barry Gordy just go, wow, I've got something on my hands here.
Yeah.
Suzanne DePass is featured. There's some really great moments and people that get their due.
All right. The details. I thought, and I had this much involvement. The production company did actually call me. They talked to me and Matt Forger.
They did not call me.
Just they wanted to make sure they got some of the details right. And I was thinking about it today. We were kind of setting up the room, and I was thinking about us seeing the movie tonight. And however you want to do the math, there might be 100 or 200 people that would even notice that the speakers that Bruce Swedien was listening to were the real speakers, the JBL 4310s.
They had that zoom in close up, and I pointed at you behind me.
Yeah, and I commend the production company for calling us and asking some of those questions.
Yeah.
The SM7, which is kind of my favorite voiceover mic, this was the mic we used for Michael. It's a pretty cheap mic. It's like a $400 mic.
Oh, really?
Bruce Swedien was Michael's engineer, and a brilliant engineer, old school. Bruce's first single was "It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want to."
Wow.
It goes way back. And Bruce I didn't know that. He had a remarkable set of ears. I love Bruce, and I miss Bruce. He's the one that discovered this was just kind of a cheap radio station mic, but he discovered that when Michael really belts, when he's going at it, Billie Jean Beat It, full throat.
Or What About Yesterday?
Yep, SM7.
Wow,
SM7
cool.
all day long. And so now a lot of podcasters use it, but it's a very popular studio mic.
That's cool.
Because of Bruce Swedien and Michael Jackson. Yeah. Prior to that, everything was Neumann and Telefunken.
Yeah.
And which we did use. We used beautiful microphones on Childhood. And
I'm sure after Off the Wall and Thriller come out, they're like, what are you doing for that sonic
mastery?
I mean,
Shure jumped on it. So they used to, I'm sure Bruce got
all
some
the trade
free mics.
magazines.
Yeah, so the trades all picked up on the fact. But they used an SM7. It always makes me laugh. In movies, they always have the microphone like way up here, like
so you can get a shot of the face.
Yeah, so you can see the face. So it's like, that's not how we did it. But that's okay, just... they got the microphone. The thing with the SM7 is that's all they showed, and that's not how we did it.
Yeah,
but that's okay. Big deal.
You guys had cases. It was like like those jewelry cases. Pick a watch.
No, you're not. Wait, I had 15 Anvil cases. I would have to haul around for Bruce with all of his microphones.
Unbelievable.
The JBL 4310s. Nice job. It's a speaker that, like I say, maybe 100 people could look at that and go, "Oh yeah, Bruce did used to use those."
Right.
But they did it. They did show the corkboard. We had a corkboard on every album, and it was in Michael's lounge, and on 3x5 cards it would have all the handwritten songs. This is just, now we're getting down to just a handful of people would get carried away with this detail. Michael used to handwrite the song titles, and so they were in goofy Michael script.
Wouldn't that be cool to have a framed picture of that?
Oh man, trust me.
Of the actual.
I've thought about it. The things that I've thrown away. I didn't throw that away, but the things that hopefully made it to Michael's vault.
Thanks, Brad. Have a great day.
Yeah,
Trash.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. But these were, beautifully printed, but it was, in red Sharpie. And it's silly little things, but having, human nature and Thriller and Beat It and moving them around. That's how Michael did it. That's exactly how we did it.
And of course, there are fans like me that are like, would it say Starlight and would it say Hot Street?
But no, you make a good point, because yes, it might have the original title, and then we would just cross it off and write the new. So no,
I'll never forget. If you haven't, this is my plug. If you haven't been in the studio with MJ, his seminars online and in person is the best. But that video that you took in the room with the Dangerous storyboard, and y'all are moving the song titles
that's real.
around, and someone put your hand out as one of my favorite songs, and that was going to be on the album.
Yeah, so was Blood.
Blood on the Dance Floor was going to be on Dangerous. And I think Dangerous is an amazing album, but I think there's about 5 minutes of filler intros and
Careful.
But anyway, I'm just saying that's the corkboard that I've seen.
Yeah.
And to see the songs be moved around like that.
Yeah, so that was very legit. I thought the studio scenes in general, there's the whole thing with Berry Gordy and then later Quincy Jones telling him not to dance, which I thought was funny, because by the time we did the Bad album, we loved hearing Michael dance.
Get the stomps and the claps.
Oh, we'd have Michael on an 8 by 8 foot stage. It was a drum riser, and it was intentionally plywood, so it sounded nice for his voice. Sure. It just raised him off the floor a little bit. And, those foot stomps, now, again, I'm starting from the Bad album because I didn't work on Thriller. Right. We loved the foot stomps. Sure. And the more, we called it the marching. The more Michael would march.
And I'm sure in Smooth Criminal or Speed Demon or those songs like that, they really have a rhythm to them.
Oh, just tons. The marching.
The Way You Make Me Feel.
Yeah. So it was funny that, both Berry Gordy and Quincy in the movie told them, dude, you got to stop moving your feet so much. But it was a fun little twist. Any other details that you picked up on that you thought were kind of interesting? Or
you know what? I just want to thank you for inviting me to go to Encino and Havenhurst a couple years ago. Let's put a picture here, Maddie. But it took my breath away. Those Encino, they had a drone shot over Encino, and the pool and all of those pictures, and you just don't realize that Michael lived there way too long.
Oh yeah,
he should have moved out the second Thriller. Hit, but he was in his early 20s.
He was just a kid.
He was a kid,
and
so he just was.
Leave.
Yeah, he was just trapped. But he did live in that house above the garage, right over there, like that. His room was upstairs.
Yeah,
and that studio, I stood there. There's a picture I know we have right here. You and Mika Brando and Matt Forger standing there, and they filmed that in there, right? It was on location. They filmed that, and
I think I think some of the chronology. They were filming Michael like when he's writing some of the Thriller album,
right?
But the Havenhurst album wasn't nearly that complete,
right?
Havenhurst was really, back then it was pretty janky. It was after Thriller and going into Bad,
but it is
that they really buffed the place up.
But seeing all the shots, the stairway where we went in on Halloween in Havenhurst when it was a haunted house, they made it a haunted house, and we went through. But that was it. I couldn't believe that sunken living room where they were watching all the movies, that we got to be right there, and you introduced me to Prince. It was amazing. Prince Jackson. It was amazing. So I think one of my favorite things, the detail, they showed how much Michael Jackson loved old Hollywood and movies and TV and the Three Stooges and cartoons, all of that. They showed him and his mom really connecting. There's a great Gene Kelly Singing in the Rain sequence. And they really put that on a pedestal, which I think Michael would have loved. And they even got a song from history in the movie. Did you catch that?
Remind me.
He's just humming, "Smile."
Oh yeah,
your heart is It's just a little clip, but that somehow they got a song from the history album in there. And Charlie Chaplin has a couple great moments in it.
Two things. Number one,
the pool.
Well, the CGI animals were. Deb was like, she was not digging on bubbles.
There was a little too much bubbles.
It was a little too much.
A little too perfect.
Yeah, a little too silly.
He was really cute,
but if Michael were in charge, he probably would have loved that. Yeah. I think him being able to have Bubbles not talking, but having such a personality. And Bubbles did have a cool personality, but they went a little over the top.
And Louis the Llama and
the giraffe walking around. It's
there was a hilarious giraffe.
There was. Yeah.
The music.
We can't give it all
Okay,
away.
okay, I
We
won't
can't give it all. But yeah,
That
yes.
might be that was my biggest laugh of the night.
giraffe cameo was very, very funny.
Enjoy yourself. They play "Enjoy Yourself" in this movie.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself and me.
The animals got to be a little much, but whatever. I mean, but Michael did love them, and I get that, the rat and the whole thing. The pool scene I thought was very funny. But when Michael says something like, if God doesn't give me, if I don't work on these gifts that God is giving me, but then Prince might.
Yeah.
It was a funny line, but absolute honest. I looked Michael in the eye one day and I said, "How do you do it? Where do you get these songs?" And he absolutely said they're gifts from God.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a direct. That he definitely gave credit to God for a lot of his songs.
And I think that line about Prince is Kenny Ortega tells
very
that
funny.
story.
Yeah.
When they were working on, maybe the history tour.
Mm-hmm.
He'd call him in the middle of the night. He's like, "Michael, it's 3 a.m." He's like, "I know, but if I don't get this idea out, God's going to give it to Prince." And it's a hilarious punchline.
It's a great
And they
line.
put it in, I guess, 1980 in this movie, but it's funny. It's a great line for a casual fan that doesn't know Michael's history.
Another character that I'm so happy they gave so much screen time to was Bill Bray.
Oh, yeah.
I have numerous Bill Bray stories, memories. Bill was wonderful.
I never met him. He just seems like he was the sweetest guy, and obviously if Michael trusted him.
The real Bill, I think the character Bill in the movie did a really good job. The real Bill actually had a little bit even more of a gravelly voice.
Kinda.
And he was, you talk about what the word I'm looking for, kind of a soft, almost a soft gangster. That's not the right word, but somebody that he would kill you. I mean, if he thought you were going to harm Michael, Bill would not play.
Yeah.
And later on they had Wayne and Marcus and these other security guys that worked with Bill.
And Miko Brandon.
And Miko was he was kind of an exception. I'm not sure Miko could take a lot of people out, but Miko's awesome. But Bill was, and I wish I would have known Bill back then, but I mean I first connected with Bill during the Bad album, and I just, it was such a cool father-son relationship they had in real life. Bill always called him Joker. Where's that Joker? And they used Joker in the movie several times.
Oh, that's great. I didn't even catch that. I didn't catch it.
He always referred to him as Joker, and I'm like,
wow,
good
that's
job.
specific.
Yeah, they were really good
I
with
got
some
chills.
of those
That's
details.
so cool. Michael's smiling down.
Bill was so good to Michael and to the people around. Quick little story, 30-second story. My very first time in New York, 1988.
Wow.
We were mixing the Grammy version of The Way You Make Me Feel and prepping for the Grammys. And Bruce took me to New York, and then they flew Deb out the next day, which was
Awesome.
amazing.
Perks.
And they had us staying, you'll know this, at the Omni Park Central.
Yeah.
Is that on 7th?
Yeah, should be 7:50.
So Bill was, true story. Bill and I bumped into each other on the sidewalk, and Bill's like, hey, everything okay?
Where's that Joker?
He's always buying shoes. Bill loved shoes, so he was shoe shopping. Bill says to me, where they got you staying? And I said at the Omni, and I'm like, they could have put me on a cot, in
like,
under a
is great.
teepee in Central Park, and I wouldn't have cared. I was in New York and buildings and Empire State Building and Radio City,
Mixing The Way You Make Me Feel.
yes,
for the
and I'm
Grammys.
like, I'm excited. Yeah, they've got me at the Omni Park
And Man
Central.
in the Mirror. That was that night too.
And he said, I'm not. No. I'm going to move you. You're going with the band. You're going into the Parker Meridian.
Oh wow.
And I'll never forget that. It was such a sweet. He
That's
didn't have
amazing.
to. I didn't ask. I didn't complain.
That takes work to figure that out.
And so he had to call the office and move me. And Deb and I are carrying our suitcases down the street in the Parker Meridian. They had a pool on the roof.
Yeah,
I
man.
was up swimming in the pool.
Yeah.
So I loved Bill Bray, and the fact that he got such, I think, a notable role in this.
Forgive me for asking. He's passed, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I don't want to mix too much, real life with the movie. Bill suffered a lot of health problems, and Michael was experiencing a lot of financial problems towards the end.
Yeah,
and,
but what a tribute that he is lifted up and put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
I know that I hope that his family is really grateful for that he is,
I agree,
his legacy is cemented like that.
Bill was such a, Michael. You don't have to be a scientist to understand that, Michael had Bruce Swedien as a bit of a father figure, Quincy Jones to a certain extent,
Yeah.
and then Bill Bray.
Yeah.
And he kind of connected with these older men, and Berry Gordy, much earlier. I mean, it's a really sweet sweet story when young Michael gives Berry Gordy a hug in front
As
of
his dad's watching.
in front of Joseph.
Yeah,
and,
it's huge.
So many just cool little moments.
And Barry loved Michael. And I think that my favorite is that when the Jackson 5 is inducted in real life in the, this is not in the movie, when they're inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Michael brings up, Diana Ross is there, and he asks to bring up Berry Gordy. And Barry comes up, and he just looks like the seventh Jackson brother. He comes up, and they're so comfortable, and he loved him, man. He's such a father figure type person.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So, we already said, Janet, for whatever reason, she just kind of tapped out on this one.
And Rebe, I don't know. It was as if only LaToya was the only sister.
I mean, even like the dinner table scenes, it was a little odd.
Well, like, is Rebe in college and Janet's in the other room?
Yeah, 2 or 3 kids not there, but
there is a line where Michael says, "I want control," and I was like. And there was a young lady on the floor with him, and I was like, "Is this supposed to be Janet?" I was like, "Who is that character supposed to be? A girlfriend or something?"
I didn't catch that the first. I don't know.
I don't know who that character.
There's
is
a
supposed
scene,
to be.
for you guys. There's a scene where there's, kind of a pretty girl.
Maybe it's Rebe. I don't know.
It seemed like it was. I don't think so. I think it was a bit more of kind of like a friend or.
And she's like, "The album's so good, Michael," and you're like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, so
maybe it's a cousin.
Yeah, they didn't really
knows?
explain who that was. The two of them in the bedroom. And
who was? This might be controversial, Brad, but who was really put on a pedestal and had a very big part in this movie was John Branca, who's the executor of the estate,
right? And
was very important to many high points in Michael's life. But he has a big role and.
There's been a lot of little bit of internet chatter. I don't know if they call it the Branca whatever they're calling
Branca no thanka. I don't know
in the MJ forums. There's gonna be a lot of MJ fans that probably they're gonna bristle a little bit. Number one, whether I'm John Branca's biggest fan or not is kind of irrelevant. I do think for years and years, John really worked hard for and with Michael. And again, I don't want to pick at too many scabs, but after Michael passed, I think John, again, don't flub me with too much hate, but I think he really turned that thing around.
Oh, with being in so much debt and Neverland and from constantly spending money to turning it around. Yeah. I just remember Cirque du Soleil happened and there was a tour around the country, Immortal.
Right.
And then they had a second Cirque du Soleil in Vegas that is still running, and they turned the estate around. I remember that Immortal album. I love that album.
I mean, MJ1.
MJ1 is still running there, and Immortal was the first show. Yeah, that toured around.
And then, obviously the Broadway show and
the Broadway show and the movie albums and a Broadway show. People don't realize the money.
The albums. People mixed reviews there, and but John. Yes, he is portrayed a teeny bit as a rock star in the movie, but he and Michael had a very special, close relationship.
And that. Helping arrange that Beatles purchase and BMI. I mean that cemented his ease of financials for years and years and years. So anyway, but he is put on a pedestal for sure in this one.
And I always tell people, you mentioned Oprah a little bit ago, and I'm just having a bit of fun, but I try to tell, or we'll talk about Teddy Riley just for a second.
Yeah.
Teddy released a book, and I think he said, 1 or 2 things, and he had kind of a funny picture in the book. And right away, a lot of MJ fans just cancel, just hit the big red cancel button.
Yeah.
Now we hate Teddy Riley. And I'm more of a big picture guy. I'm kind of like, look, there's a whole history there that a lot of people don't fully understand, and we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I'm not quite as quick to kick somebody out and say you're canceled. John Branca, he's a big figure in Michael's life, and Hollywood's a rough town. And I think John navigated those waters.
Yeah, and Michael was not his only client, obviously. And Michael, being the most famous person on the planet, I'm sure it was not all roses. Just, Michael, I'm sure, was demanding and needed certain things.
Sure.
And, in this movie, it's the
especially
best.
Contractually.
But, spoiler alert, my favorite things in this movie is like, I need you to fire Joseph. And he's like, how? And he's... Spoiler alert, as quickly as possible.
Quickly.
So the facts, that's one of my favorite. Oh my gosh, it's so great.
Even I'm sitting next to Deb, my wife, and she just started laughing as quickly as possible.
And you know what? People, late night show, people are like, I'm Michael Jackson, but Jafar did such a great job of being soft spoken and talking like him, and it wasn't a lame caricature. It wasn't making fun of his voice. He's so good. I really can't wait to watch him again.
When I was at the Thriller shoot, I think it was a year ago.
In the middle of the night,
Middle of the night, freezing cold. And I had, I was with one of the sound guys, Ed. Ed let me put the headphones on, And so I got to hear Jafar interacting with the director.
Wow.
And I literally got goosebumps because I said, "That's
He's
Michael."
Like staying in character.
That's not even just singing, but just talking.
Yeah.
Just talking in between shots.
Can we try this again?
Yes, and it was pure Michael. And I put the headphones on Deb, and same thing. She said, "This is so cool and
I will
weird.
treasure that shirt you gave me that you brought back from the set that said, what's it say on the back? It has the Michael silhouette and it says Michael Jackson Sound Team or something.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. Just magical. I can't imagine.
Yeah. So we've kind of covered most of the characters. I mean, Catherine was great. Michael had a very sweet.
Catherine was so well done, and there is that moment, like in the Broadway show MJ the Musical, that "I'll Be There" is like their theme song, like that. Catherine will always be there for him. And Catherine really stands up to Joe a couple times. So much so that you're like, oh, Joe, if you hit her,
you really think
you're like, oh my gosh.
You really think he's going to make a fist.
Yeah, they really let Catherine stand up to Joe in this movie. It's
and I
satisfying.
it was a rough. I certainly wasn't there, but it was a rough marriage.
Yeah, there were a couple moments. The way the movie ends was too fast, right? In my opinion, we got all of the song bad live. It jumps to Wembley. And we get the entire song.
Do you like my shirt?
Really, really Brad.
My friends in Germany made that.
If you guys don't know this, if you look in your liner notes in the Brad LP, the vinyl,
the bad
cassette,
LP,
or the CD,
the bad LP.
I said the Brad, LP. The bad LP. It says it's thank you.
Special thanks to
really, really Brad.
Really Brad.
Brad, really, really Brad Sundberg.
And I mean the shirt is funny, but no, priceless. Michael really did. When he was doing the lyric, doing the vocals for bad, really, really bad. When he came back into the control room, he saw me. I was sitting on the floor. I don't. Sometimes I sat on the floor. I mean, there was a lot
eating popcorn.
You got Rod Temperton, Quincy Jones, Bruce Sweeney, Michael Jackson, Craig Johnson, Chris Carell. Sometimes there weren't enough chairs.
Brad Sundberg.
Yeah, so I'm sitting on the floor, and Michael's like, "Hey, it's Brad, really, really Brad." And it really stuck.
That's great.
That was kind of my little.
It's better than Dookie or Doo-Doo or Smelly or something.
Head. Take a
So there were a couple other things I want to say.
Okay.
The movie ends abruptly, and it's like it essentially says "to be continued." Right? It says, what does it say? His history continues, or something.
It actually bugged me a little bit because they said his story. Everybody knows. The history album is behind me, but here. It's always his story.
Yeah.
HIS.
It's in italics, his.
Yeah. And I don't know why they didn't do that. It bugged me the first time, and I'm like, everyone knows.
They were really in a hurry to get this out.
Everyone knows this is how it's supposed to be, and they did it his story. But whatever.
Maybe this is the past, present, and future book 2. It says book 1. Nobody knows what that means. Maybe book 2 is the second part of the movie.
It does. Yeah. The final shot. Well, go ahead.
It jumps around a lot, and I felt like we jumped to adult Michael really fast. I missed I really wanted like Dancing Machine.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
and they had that whole weird period where they went to Las Vegas and Michael had all those Broadway style tap dancing things. And I know you can't have everything, but we jumped from, I don't know, it felt like we jumped from.
I think the Broadway show actually does a
more of
smoother
that.
transition to adulthood.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I just really love Dancing Machine. I asked Jackie Jackson once in the Las Vegas Fan Fest in a Q&A, not personally. We've barely met. But I asked, what's one of the songs that was a surprise that you didn't think would be a hit? And Jackie Jackson said, Dancing Machine, man. I thought that song was so silly. I didn't think that anybody. I was like, we're making a single of that.
Great groove.
And Michael's dance made it such a thing. So of course I wanted to see Jafar
with Cher.
Cher too. And Carol Burnett and everybody else. I would love to have seen Jafar do that. And maybe it was cut. Maybe they did film it.
Yeah.
But you can't, you could do a whole movie just on the Jackson 5 period. Of course, I missed the Can You Feel It period. And, She's Out of My Life and Rock With You. We got a lot of Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I thought it was going to go into Rock With You and other things.
Yeah. In terms of just hitting a lot of songs.
Yeah, you skip The Wiz. Yeah, there's a lot.
The musical, and I don't mean to keep going back to the musical, you should see both, and compare them and see. I love them both. The musical definitely hits more, even if they just give us 24 bars of a song. They'll give you something. This one, but there's a lot of music in the movie. Yeah,
and now something maybe controversial. I think some of the critics are like, this is just like putting Michael on a pedestal, and there's no talks about allegations or whatever. It's like, this is entertainment. This is not TMZ. This is not a tabloid. This is not a court case. Like, this is, and it's the estate doing it. So if you want to make some awful movie about something else, you can do that, but that's not what this is. People go to the movies to be entertained. It's not a documentary, know?
And I think that's, I don't follow Paris that closely. The only time I met Paris, she was just probably a toddler.
Right.
So I don't follow her on social media, but I know she's had some objections to the movie.
Yeah, I wonder what she wants in it. Yeah.
Well, she's kind of said some disparaging things that this is it's like cotton candy for the fans or whatever.
And she's also probably seen the entire movie that has her and Prince and Blanket in it.
Right.
Who knows? That might be in the second half.
Yeah, and this is long before she was even born. So to have a really strong opinion, but it's a movie that is certainly made for the fans, and honestly, I enjoyed it more the second time than the first time. The first time I was probably being a little too analytical. The second time I really just enjoyed the ride. And so I'm not saying you should go see it 2, 3, 4 times. Some of you probably will. But yeah, the second time it just clicked for me. It was really enjoyable.
What I'm so impressed by, Jafar Jackson is so impressive in this role. Not only his singing and his moonwalking and dancing and leg kicking and his acting and his voice, his tenderness, his little quiet moments as an actor are so amazing. But it also amazes me that a few years ago, the Broadway show, Miles Frost won a Tony Award for playing Michael Jackson. Everybody was like, wow, he's amazing. And then he went and did it in London. But there have been another 28 people to play Michael Jackson in the show in Brussels and London and Broadway and in the national tour. And now this movie, Jafar, is going to be the definitive one because it's a movie. And a movie can reach the entire world in a year. And a Broadway show reaches 1,200 people a night,
And I've seen, I have seen it 6, 7 times, something like that, the musical.
Right, the Broadway show.
And I've enjoyed each Michael. Yeah. I mean, they're different, especially, some of the teenage Michaels, sometimes they're, maybe not quite perfect, but I do love, most interpretations, when somebody really puts their heart and soul into it.
Yeah, and it's about the essence and obviously the voice and the acting, but it's not about shading your cheekbones and your nose with makeup to make you look like a certain era or whatever.
And that's why
that's what's so great about it.
And that's why I liked, here I am looking at Michael and Jafar does not look like that. No. Similar, but I like the fact that they didn't try and turn him into this Michael. The hair was very similar. But
I'm about to say something you aren't expecting me to say.
Go ahead.
The Jerry curl in this movie is amazing. Right? Isn't the hair, the afros and the Jerry curl?
Yes,
it's like, and the way that they do that wave thing,
the little
that
tiny
Michael,
curl, yeah.
And man, the Pepsi commercial burn is graphic.
I was going to touch on that.
Wow, it is. They go there, and I'm sure for my daughter, who's 12, she didn't know that story, and she was like, his head caught on fire.
Right.
He had to go to the hospital.
Well, when Maddie and I watched it in Bucharest, and do you remember that? When they take him out and he's kind of waving with the glove.
The glove, yeah.
And I said, Maddie, you have no idea that
Huge.
photo was all over the
bigger
world
than the internet.
in 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I wish no ill on anyone, but something like that, if it were to happen today, and I won't even say a name, it still wouldn't have the same impact.
No.
That moment was so iconic, just because this is Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
who just got burned in a Pepsi commercial. It was almost surreal. It was
Yeah,
almost
and that
unbelievable.
album was already the highest selling, and he was the most popular man on the planet. And there's also that, I'm sure a lot of fans know, that they counted the days in Michael Jackson's life from birth to the day he died.
Yes.
And that day
he
was burned.
Dead center.
The
No pun
middle,
intended. Yeah.
The median day of his life.
Isn't that crazy?
And people say, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan, but people say that that's when his fame peaked, and it became a late night punchline. Oh, I burned my hair, and it became this he became so famous that people were like, he's too famous.
It's a fascinating statistic. I agree.
That blows my mind.
Yeah,
that's crazy. What a great movie it was. I really look forward to seeing it again.
Yeah,
I think I want to see it. I saw it with I'm in Finding Nemo at Disney World, so a lot of our cast members were there. Brad's family was there, and wife, who I love, and my wife and kid. But I think next time I see it, I'm gonna go by myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think with no distractions. Oh, Brad, I have a tip for the audience. Can I tell you?
Yep.
When I go to the theater, I like to have popcorn and a big old soda, right? I had a big Mr. Pibb extra. Whatever.
Oh, wow. You're going to be up till 4.
Caffeine. Yeah.
Okay.
But I always have to go to the bathroom in a movie.
Right.
Did you notice when I got up to go to the bathroom? I was sitting in front of Brad. Did you notice? It was when Don King came on the screen and was talking to Joe Jackson. I said, this is Don King.
I got to tap out.
Yeah, and I looked online. You can see, when should you take a pee break in the movie. So if you're an hour, 10 minutes in, and you're like, man, really got to go to the bathroom.
This is the weirdest tangent ever in
When
one of my
Don
podcasts.
King comes on the screen,
but that's okay.
You've got 2 minutes, and they said something, I'm sure, about Pepsi and the Victory Tour.
How much money we're going to make.
And how Joe was like, we got to milk
Just
Michael for everything.
Smoking a cigar.
But that's when I went to the bathroom, and I don't think I missed it. Did I miss anything in that scene?
Well, I mean,
So next time I go, I'll watch that scene.
Okay.
And I'll pee during the Suzanne DePass moment in the wings, I
can't
guess.
believe you read about when to go pee.
You can do this online at any Hunger Games. You can be like, this is Jurassic Park. Here's when you should go to the bathroom.
Okay. I really enjoyed it. And I know I'm repeating myself. I enjoyed it more the second time. And the first time, I was in a different country, a little bit of jet lag, meeting new people. There was just a lot going on. And so my brain was kind of like a little pinball machine, which is kind of normal. This time I'm sitting with my wife and your lovely family. And it was just, I could just sit and watch it. And it was so enjoyable. So yeah, I really did enjoy it.
I did too. And Brad, I know we could sit here and talk all night. And eat more chocolates that you brought back from Bucharest.
Yep, and drink more California wine.
But real quick, I want to ask, if it sounds like there's a to be continued. At the end of this movie, it's like his story continues.
I believe most of it's already been shot.
Right. So what I want to ask, please say in Brad's comments and my comments here, what you want to see in the second half of the movie. Because the second half of the movie, obviously, is Captain EO and the Bad album and, the Dangerous album, the Super Bowl, right? The World Tour. And then obviously canceling the World Tour, blah, 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 allegations, the History album, Blood on the Dance Floor, Scream with Janet. Is Janet going to be in the second movie? Like Janet?
Right.
Like, there's so much to be had.
I know.
And of course, his 3 kids, him having children, Lisa Marie, Diane Sawyer and Oprah and all of those things. Like, are they going to recreate the Super Bowl in the second half of the movie? They did some amazing pieces.
One of the things that I did, there's so many more things they could have done. They mentioned Rod Temperton's name. but they didn't have a Rod Temperton.
Yeah.
And Rod was such a sweet, brilliant man, and he, I mean, I'm looking at my Thriller album up there.
Autograph.
I mean, he was, you know, he was half of the Thriller album.
Yeah, and Brad, you told me this. I didn't know. I thought Rod worked on Off the Wall and Thriller, and he was there on Bad.
He was there
working on Bad
day one to the last day, and none of his songs were put onto the album.
Yeah.
We did put some of those on the Saida Garrett's album, Kiss
Right.
of Life.
Yeah.
But I mean, just having Rod in the room, just to look at Rod and say, you know, hey, what do you think a good harmony part for this would be, or to have Rod, you know, giving, some musical direction. My goodness, who do you want? Mozart? I mean,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, he was very instrumental in the Bad album,
Which I didn't know.
Oh yeah, even though he didn't. You know, he wasn't credited with songwriting.
Brad, can Maddie?
Well, I have to. Okay, go ahead.
Would you put this picture of Rod Temperton and what is this thing
on the
called?
Segway? Yeah,
on the Segway at Rod's house in like England or wherever you were.
Yeah, I built four
this.
studios for Rod in Bel Air, Cannes, France, Kent. Yeah, it's south of London, and then another one in London. No,
Rod Temperton, Off the Wall, Burn This Disco Out, Thriller, Rock With You.
Lady in My
Lady
Life.
in My
Are you kidding me?
Life,
Lady in My
come
Life is
on.
just a sheer. That's a masterclass
And
in
off
production.
the Wall, the song. Doom, ba-dum, boom,
Yeah.
da-doo. Amazing. Rod Temperton.
Okay, so I was disappointed that Rod didn't. But I mean, Michael had so many people in his life. I mean, good people, bad people. And Rod, I wished he would have been in it. In the second movie, where do you even start? I mean, obviously, they're touching on Bad. The Bad album, if I say the phrase, I could write a book, people are going to say, well, do it. I could write a book on the Bad
ready
album.
for it.
It's such a beautiful story of how that album came together and the day-to-day fun routine in the studio. And that was Quincy's last album, with Michael, because it was contractual. Quincy did Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad.
Unbelievable.
There was
good albums.
nobody was fired. There were no fist fights. It was just. It's so funny that we have them right
the
here.
Album where Quincy was like, "I want you to try and write every song." Is that true?
I'm always careful. We probably Quincy has stated huge numbers. We listened to 500 demos.
Right.
700 demos. I don't think that's really true. But yeah, he was definitely encouraging Michael to do more writing. But when you've got Saida Garrett and Glenn Ballard bringing in Man in the Mirror, at some point you have to go, well, yeah, this is really good. So what should they include in the second movie? I mean, I know they did some shooting at Neverland. Neverland is a huge part of my heart.
Yeah, I miss Neverland. Duh. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so I know that's going to be in the second movie. The Dangerous album, I mean, when I do my live events, I have to edit. Maddie and I had a long talk, because she was with me in Bucharest, and she helps with so many of my edits and things behind the scenes. And she's like, there's things that I could talk about the Dangerous album for 8 hours, and I have to pull it back, just to put a couple little stories in. Yeah. The Dangerous album, just like the musical. I mean, that whole thing is just on the Dangerous tour.
Yeah, sure.
Well, of course, it's touching back,
right.
Timeline. I hope they give the Dangerous album some time. The History album is a whole story unto itself,
Absolutely.
which we did in New York. And then after that, you get into it.
Your favorite album, Invincible?
I can't talk. I get in trouble whenever I talk about Invincible. And then the tours. I mean, I talked to Brad Buxer today. Brad was Michael's MD, musical director, on half of the Dangerous tour, the History tour. I think he may have jumped in during half of the Bad tour. I don't want to get in trouble with Greg Fillinganes, but
I wish Fillinganes. He could have been in that Bad.
They
had a Sheryl Crow stand in.
They did have a Sheryl Crow. They did have a Jennifer Batten.
Jennifer Batten had a moment.
They did have a Greg, and they did have a Sugarfoot.
Okay, I didn't see Greg.
Yeah, Greg was in the back. He had the little hat on, everything.
I love that this move made it into the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So they ticked so many boxes, and Michael had, how are you going to tick 400,000 boxes?
And what we don't realize as audiences members at a movie are they ticked more boxes, but it was cut. There's so much stuff that is cut from a film. That movie was probably, just this half of the movie was probably 3.5, 4 hours. And they were like, too much. Let's cut Dancing Machine. Let's cut this song. Let's cut I Can't Help It. And
which is the same thing we do
on.
when we make an album. There's so many great songs that don't make it.
Or when you do a YouTube episode, this is shorter. We talked to you've got to edit.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a great album. A great movie.
So overall, in terms of, there's no way, you can't make a 14-hour movie, part two.
Nope.
So they're going to have to pick and choose, because then you do get to some heavier times, some darker times in Michael's life.
Of course.
Financially, and they did touch on the morphine, in this movie.
Say Demerol,
yeah, Michael, you need Demerol. And of course, a few years later, Michael's singing about Demerol on Blood on the Dance Floor. So there's so many.
And as the executor, how do you go? Do we in the second movie? Are we going to have Debbie Rowe in this movie? Are we going to have Lisa Marie in this movie? These are people that he married and had kids with, and it's like, what is entertainment, and when does it become a tabloid? The part I sort of cringed at, they have a plastic surgery nose job moment in the doctor's office with a nurse and a doctor, and I was just like, I don't need to watch that. They're people.
I think it was important, though.
I guess so, but you were friends with Michael. I wasn't. I defend Michael so much, and people that aren't Michael fans that make fun of him and his voice or his skin color or his nose are like, I'm like, oh yeah, I have 1,500 Michael Jackson records. He's my favorite performer.
Right.
And they're like, but what about his nose? I was like, I'm not a fan of his nose. What are you talking about?
Right.
Why are we talking about his nose? I don't care about his nose. I care about his music and his talent and his dance, And so that's the moment. That scene was 4 minutes, and I was like, get me back to the music,
It's so, I don't mean to keep going back to my silly coasters. But it's so, you look at the progression of
I loved,
of his face, and no, but it did bother him.
Yeah, of course, and which is why, History. Bad was the last time we saw his real face on an album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
History, he's a statue. Blood on the Dance Floor, he's a painting. And Invincible, it's just like digital eyes washed out, and that's totally fine. But it was fascinating in this movie and Off the Wall that they have Jafar mocked up in this.
Yes.
And it's amazing to see the close-up at the record release at Tower Records. Yeah. That one on Sunset Boulevard we drove past. And when Brad took me to L.A. and we went to Encino, the Heel L.A. event at Havenhurst, I got to stand right here. This wall does not look like this anymore. It's painted, but I posed it. Maddie, we have to find the picture. We'll put it right here. But I got to stand right here in this spot, and now they have a beautiful mural painted there. Yeah. It was off the wall. I'm sure it's promoting the movie now. Yeah. But gosh, go see this movie.
Go see it.
It's so great.
Yeah, really, really fun night. Two more things I want to touch on is critics and awards. In terms of the critics, I've already seen a couple things online. One critic called it boring, which I thought was really interesting. He's like, "How in the world could you make Michael Jackson boring?" But they achieved that. I don't really know how you could. That's not even a rational statement.
No, I invited 27 friends tonight, and they were all like, I didn't want it to end. And I love my friend Adam. He was like, that guy's last name was actually Jackson. I was like, I know, he's a Jackson.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe it. He had so I guess that's amazing that press had not reached him.
Yeah, so whatever happens on Rotten Tomatoes, New York Times, whatever, it'll be interesting.
What matters to the estate and to the second film being released is how much money is made.
Of course,
right?
and I have a prediction, and I love my American friends. Please don't be offended. It's going to slam in Europe.
Of course, it's going to be globally. It's going to slam.
Europe, South America, Asia, Australia. It's going to be absolutely huge.
Yeah.
The U.S. fans are just kind of, I shouldn't say fans. U.S. moviegoers are probably, it's probably going to be a little bit of a softer.
But you know what? It's a feel-good movie, and what is it? It's April 22nd. It opens in 2 days. It's going to be playing well into the summer. It's a feel-good movie.
I think so.
It's going to have great word of mouth, and listen, in the fan community, in the black community, I think it's going to be a really big deal. I was amazed tonight, the reaction, and oh my gosh, the costumes, the design, the choreo. It was just so well done.
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't follow the awards. My girls, I've got 4 daughters. They are locked into like the Oscars and the best movie, and they love it. I'm a little too old, and I just don't really care that much. Do you? I know my answer to this question. Do you think this is going to be like an awarded, a Hollywood loved movie?
I don't think so, because I mean Jafar is amazing, but because he's not a previously established actor,
he's not part of the crew.
Yeah, he's not part of the crew, and I think they'll see him as this is a nice one-off, and he's just an impersonator or whatever, which it's not.
Right.
But this is not the kind of show I think that the Academy congratulates for. Wow, a biopic
it's not
like the Queen
important
biopic or Elton John. It makes money and it gets people in the theaters.
Right.
And if you can get people in the theaters to watch trailers to see other shows, did you notice all the very adult movies that were promoted before this one tonight? And of course, Hunger Games also. But like, if you get people to the theater, I know my 12-year-old, and the language in these trailers and violent and.
I mean, it's so funny you say that, because Deb and I, we really, yes, we're old, and you can use whatever label you want to use on us. We don't really we're not movie goers on a weekly basis by any means. And I'm looking at these going, that's just horrible. That's just why would somebody want to subject themselves to 2 hours of that?
Yeah, a couple of those previews were not PG-13
really
trailers.
Dark.
There was blood and talk of murder and lots of language. Anyway, but people want you to come see a show like this so that they have to sit through the trailers for the other movies.
Of course.
In those studios, it was Lionsgate that promoted this movie, and they're promoting their other movies.
Of course.
So good for them. That's what they know what they're doing.
So go see it.
Go see it.
I give it a major thumbs up. Really, really fun movie. It was fun, seeing it first in Bucharest, and then I'm in a weird way, I'm glad I saw it before. I don't mean to take anything away. I really did enjoy it tonight. I just sat back and just enjoyed it. And there were only a couple times I leaned over to Deb and kind of whispered something that might be coming up. But for the most part, I just enjoyed it.
My friends tonight leaned over a couple times, my co-stars in my show, and they were like, now, how old is Michael now in this scene, right? And during Off the Wall, how old is he now? Or Thriller, and they were like, he's in his 20s. Wow. Kid. Yeah, he was such a kid. Really amazing. But Brad, thank you for inviting me tonight.
Thank you for
on my little channel, Family Travel. Follow me, but you have to follow In the Studio with MJ. If you aren't following him, what are you doing? Make sure that you go to one of his seminars, because they're so great, and they're like this. Brad is a cool, approachable guy, and he will talk to you and answer questions about working with Michael and his career. And I loved in the movie tonight, seeing all the hands-on and watching Barry Gordy teach Michael how to work in the studio, because that's what I see you do, messing with knobs and levers and even teaching me tonight. You're like, on the computer, this is on the right channel, this is my voice on the left channel, and he EQ'd all that. So Brad has taught me a lot. So if you're interested in that, definitely follow In the Studio with MJ.
Yep, and follow Jared on the Family channel, Broadway Bradshaws. Yep, cool family, dear friends. So there you go. Thanks for hanging out with us. A bit longer than my normal chat, but go see the movie. Congratulations to the cast and crew for doing an amazing job. A beautifully shot film. And we're going to be in London in just a few weeks, and then Berlin. I'm going to be in Berlin with Brad Buxer. I just talked to Brad yesterday. Today. Wow. I talked to him this afternoon, and Brad's very excited. So we have a lot of fun together.
And Brad's got to see the movie too, right?
I'm pushing Brad Buxer to go see the movie. He's a little bit reluctant, but hopefully he'll go check it out. So stay tuned. Tickets are available now at www.inthestudioWithMJ, and we've got more shows coming up in the fall in Warsaw and Stockholm and all kinds of places.
Wow.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, don't stop till you get enough.
Good seeing you. Take care.
Same here,
God bless everybody. Take care. In the Studio, the podcast is produced by Maddie Sundberg. Theme music performed by Buddy Nuanez. Artwork by Andy Healy. Studio electronics provided by Golden Age Project. And studio acoustics provided by Acoustic Sciences Corporation. My name is Brad Sundberg. Thanks so much for hanging out with us in the studio.